Welcome to Happy Progress Podcast. I'm Alex Harris, and today we're here with Chris Out. How you doing, Chris?
Doing great, Alex. What about you?
To get started, does progress equal happiness to you?
Well, I think it does if you move into the direction that you want to go. So I've created a lot of exercises where I try to visualize where I am in 5 years, or the framework that I now use is where am I in 25 years? And it gives me a lot of happiness and meaning when I go to bed every evening and I can say, you know what, I took another step towards that goal.
I love it. So Chris has founded one of the world's best growth hacking agencies, and then he actually sold it just this year in July of 2020. But he originally started out as an auditor at the accounting firm KPMG, and I guess you weren't happy with that position, so you quit it to become an entrepreneur with a goal of becoming a millionaire within 1 year. I guess a reality check came in because you lost 200,000 euro during that time. And then you quickly realized that you have to shift your focus and become a growth hacking expert, which became your subject matter expertise. You formed Rock Boost, and then you sold that just this past year. And now you're focused on Growth Lever, which now you're helping companies grow their own businesses and their own products. Tell us a little bit about that journey and how you got here.
Yeah, I think I've always been searching on where do I want to go. I was a very bad student, so it took me 9 years to basically complete my master's. So I've done everything wrong that you could do as a student. But at the time also gave me the opportunity to really figure out what's the stuff that's actually going to bring me happiness in my life. And the first thing that I thought that would make me happy is to do the cool stuff that my friends were doing. So also getting a master's degree and working at a big firm. And I realized pretty quickly that that's not a thing that makes me very happy. So I was the first one to quit of my entire year at that point. So everybody thought that I was crazy because I had this great future ahead. But for me, it wasn't feeling like that. And during the years, I've learned to trust that gut feeling. When I have a nudge that I'm not going into the right direction, then I need to listen to it and really make changes. So that's what I did back then. And I've met two great guys who had a digital agency, and together with them I started a company called A Discount, where the entire concept was to have consumers watch TV commercials and in return for that get a discount. It was a great idea. We worked for 1 year on it, built the entire platform, but there was one thing that we forgot was, do people actually want this? And we could have figured it out with the knowledge that I have right now, that within 1 day, we could have known that nobody would have wanted this. So at that time, I was also soul searching again, hey, what would be a next wave that I can catch and move myself onto? And what I saw was that growth hacking was becoming pretty big in the US. And growth has always been a topic that is a very big interest to me. And so I jumped onto that ship, and I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to completely immerse myself into that business. And together with my partners of the digital agency, we started Rock Boost. Did everything wrong in the first 3 years because, to be honest, we didn't have a freaking clue what we were doing. But by putting yourself out there, even before people think that you're ready, that really accelerates your learning curve. And by doing that, at some point we were really able to grow startups, grow scale-ups, but also crack the code on how to do this within corporates. And I think for the past 1-2 years, I started to feel that feeling coming up again in my belly, and not just okay, this is cool, but your learning journey has almost ended over here. And it has always been an ambition of mine to start an online business and to have products that I ship instead of services, and instead of helping clients generate millions, to apply the same principles to my own business and really eat your own cookie. And this year some events happened, so I got a kid, beautiful daughter, on the 2nd of January, moved to another place with my wife, and I really thought, okay, this is the time to do it. And together with the pandemic, we were already at home, so I thought, you know what, this is the time to do it. And so together with Marlies, we jumped ship, and we said, okay, let's start this right now. And what I'm currently focusing on is that a lot of companies really struggle to grow. And when I come in, it's can sound a little bit cocky or arrogant, and I don't mean it like that. But if you have a lot of frameworks in your head and a lot of mental models on like what you can do to grow a business, if you all boil it down, businesses almost have the same. Almost every business has the same problem, and you can really quickly spot, okay, like what should we change here to help them grow to that next level. And so together with Marlies, we really try to figure out what would be like really big growth levers. So a growth lever is what we define as the 1% that brings more than 50% of your impact. Because if you look at all kinds of data points and things in nature, you see that only a very small percentage of things will generate more than half of the output. So we created a cheat sheet for people that they can do it themselves with 3 levers that they can implement. And if clients want to hire me one-on-one, I can also help them with finding the levers that they can use for their business. And we have tested this model with some clients, and the results are amazing because people really quickly spot, okay, this is what we work on. They get a lot of focus, and actually it brings a lot of clarity to their growth, and it makes it's easier, and they make quicker decisions. They go into action faster. And they cut the crap. They're not bullshitting around anymore. They're just like focusing on 1 or 2 things. They do that really well, and then they move to the next phase and the next phase and the next phase. So that's a really exciting journey right now, helping clients one-on-one, but also creating products that people that don't have the money or are not at the place to hire us one-on-one can also use these principles and apply it to themselves.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, you certainly can tell that you have the intuition and you're ambitious to not settle. Hearing your story, it reminds me of me in college and seeing other people go into finance and becoming lawyers and things like that. And I didn't want to follow the status quo either. I was originally a digital artist and a drawer and painter, and I wanted to combine that with my creativity with my passion for business. And it sounds like you were thinking outside of the box too, how you can apply more through growth hacking and business with your fundamentals of finance and accounting, which totally makes sense now that you look back at it. So, going forward with this cheat sheet and this growth model, how do you find the 1% that's going to make the biggest difference to you getting the biggest growth?
Yeah, I think that's a question that we hear all the time because it sounds very nice, but actually, how do you do it? So with this cheat sheet, what we have done is like we've created 3 levers that you can implement where we know it will help you. So like using other people's network, like building a value ladder, and really stress testing your revenue. But I think that the most important way to find your lever is knowing where you want to go, like having a really good clarity on like how what's your end in mind, and then start to reverse engineer. Okay, like how could we get there? And a theory that we use a lot is the theory of constraints from Goldratt, which basically say if you want to move something from A to B, and you have to move it through a factory, the total output of that factory is just like limited by one thing. There's one bottleneck, and that will determine how much throughput you can generate. So if you increase that bottleneck, if you make sure that you can produce more, then the output of the entire factory goes up. So what we try to do is we try to put it into context of a factory. You want to go from A to B, like what's currently your biggest bottleneck? If you had to 10x today, if that was your goal, what would break first? And how could we fix that in a smart way? And that's basically the cycle that we repeat. So to answer your question in a more like condensed way is, where do you want to go? And then say, let's 10x your business. And what would be the first thing to break? And how could we fix that?
It reminds me of something actually that you mentioned in the cheat sheet, the Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule, which is, I would say, fundamental. I wouldn't say it's basic, but it's fundamental of anything that we do in life. For your website, a classic example, 80% of your traffic is going to come from 20% of your pages. Or in e-commerce, 80% of your revenue is going to come from 20% of your products. What about in life or your business? How do you find that 20%? What is causing you the immediate growth that you can see that you can really focus on? Do you have any specific ways that businesses or individuals can find their own 20%?
Yeah, the first thing that I always do is reverse engineer. So you started 2 years ago, you're now here. Like, could you reverse engineer? Like, what were the main events or the main things that got you there? And then you will probably see, oh, that the 20% of the things that I did over here, these channels or these people, or what I saw at Rockboost, for example, at some point is that the buyer from corporates, they had like the same persona. It was like 90% it was like a female at a certain level with certain ambitions in a context where not everything was ready, but like you could also you could fix stuff. And getting into those type of engagements, we were always successful. So it's really, I think that during my entire life I've been trained to be functionally lazy. So when I was doing an exam at university or on high school, I always try to see, okay, I want to pass this exam and I want to do this in the shortest amount of time possible. Like, what are the topics that I need to study to basically pass the exam?
Right. That's what happy progress is about. How do you accelerate your results in the shortest amount of time? It's essentially another way of doing optimization on your business, your life, and really just finding more fulfilling work and more purpose, because, the results are great, but really the process that you go through to achieve those results in their journey is really where you get that satisfaction. I just wanted to have some clarity on the 80/20. And what I heard you say is that you're able to find patterns in businesses that have similar problems. And me now working enterprise, I see this all the time, that enterprise businesses have a lot of similar problems. And a lot of those problems are based on the basics. Big businesses are trying to do big things, big digital transformation, but a lot of times they're missing kind of the fundamentals. So you, as a growth hacker or business consultant, you're able to give them an outside perspective and see how their patterns match some of your other businesses' patterns, whether they're small, they're large. And then you're able to take what you've learned from one business and apply it to the next.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the bigger the organization is, the less in touch they are with their customers.
Right.
Because it's a very logical thing. When you're an entrepreneur, you're doing sales, you're doing marketing, you're doing product delivery, you're doing everything. But I've seen it so many times that people working on a marketing department at a big corporate, when you ask them, like, what was the last time you spoke to a customer, like really spoke to a customer, sometimes it's more than a year or 2 years ago. And they really lose like touch with that customer. And because of that, they don't understand the language of the customer, what they want, what their dreams are, what their hopes are, what their frustrations are. And what I've seen across the board is that once you put people into a place where they start talking with their customers, you can also leverage the language that customers are using. And when we wanted to implement engagement fast, when we wanted to do like quick tests, the easiest thing to change on a website most of the times is changing the copy. And if you make sure that you basically steer away the focus from insight to the customer again, and you change the copy based on those insights, that's where we have seen great results. So the overall trend is make sure that people start to join the conversation that customers have in their voice or in their head, and tap into that. And that's a huge leverage that we have seen.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to obviously the results that we're looking for, but it's compound growth, right? So the ability to invest in these small wins that are going to build up over time, they're essentially going to duplicate and scale. not
Yeah.
only for one business or one individual customer. In conversion optimization, a lot of times we're doing the same process over and over again on multiple different customers. So what we learn on one site, we'll take that and apply it to a different site. And not only is it compounding on the individual customer and the individual website or app, but now it's applying across your entire business. Is that kind of the way you think about it as well?
Yeah, it's I always try to boil it down to like what are the principles that are happening over here.
Okay.
And I go back into psychology on why do people do the things that they do. And what I've seen, for example, is that you can like run perfect A/B tests, but if the sales follow-up after that is broken, or customer service has problems, or like I always try to see, okay, like the website is one isolated thing in the system, but you have to look at like the broader perspective and see, okay, like what's really the big thing where it's actually breaking, and what can we do over there? And I think the struggle that a lot of people have that work in our industry is that they are too narrow focused on a certain aspect of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
While we can create an amazing website, but if the customer has a question and it takes 5 days to answer it, then we can do all kinds of A/B tests that we want, but that will eventually limit the amount of things that we can sell to that person because they will never come back.
Mm-hmm.
So once we start from the perspective of how can we increase the overall lifetime value of a customer and make sure that they're happy when they first buy from us, but also the second time, the third time, and we have a relationship with them, then you will look at different things. And if you connect that to A/B testing and optimization, then you can use the compound interest of A/B testing plus all the other stuff, and that's where you make the really big impact.
Yeah, it's really a great perspective and way to look at it. Let's actually jump into your framework and your cheat sheet. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So if you're on the podcast, you can go to YouTube and take a look. But let's actually break down the cheat sheet. The first step is the Dream 100. Can you just kind of
Yeah.
walk us through what this is and what you take away from it?
Yeah, sure. So the goal with this cheat sheet is to make sure that we enable people to extremely grow the revenue of their business. And what we have done, we've really tried to condense it into three things with things that you can do that we know that will have an impact. And we try to make that as actionable as possible. And always do that from a principle perspective. So the first thing that we define is the Dream 100. And if you zoom out on the Dream 100, what we actually want to do is we want to use the network that other people have already built up. So if you know who your ideal client is, do you know where that client hangs out online? Like, do you know where their congregation points are? Do you actually know if you would apply it to fishing?
What if you don't know? How would you find that?
That's a very good thing. So again, as I said, I'm functional lazy. And what I do is I just ask my best customers, like, hey, where do you hang out online? So what are the top websites that you visit? Like, who are the other people that you follow? Like, from which stores do you buy? Like they will tell you where they are. And the really nice thing that you can do is like, if, for example, you know that they follow Tony Robbins, you can go on Google and on YouTube and on all these other places. You can find places where there are groups or there are communities, but these groups and communities will also give you an insight into like what are the other places where these type of people are coming together and congregating and are in a community.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing that, you can really quickly find 100 places where they are online. And then you can do two things. You either build a relationship with the owner of that congregation point or that community, and you try to figure out like, hey, how can I add value to that community that people are actually becoming interested in? Like, hey, who is that person that's actually adding all this value to our community, and can we create some kind of joint venture or an affiliate deal, or like, can we build something organic that people who have seen the value that you bring over there are also going to your business? And the other way that you can do it is target based on you can advertise in these groups. Like with Facebook, you can target certain interests that you have figured out based on what those people do. But that's a little bit harder when you don't have the money at the start. So either you go and try to infiltrate those communities, and infiltrate sounds maybe a little bit scammy, or like it's not it doesn't have really a good connotation. So we're always coming from like a way of how can you add value? So how can you add so much value to a community that people actually want to check you out? And what we have seen is it's always cheaper and more profitable to leverage somebody else's community than try to build that on your own from scratch. And
Makes
what you want to
sense.
do is you want to use all these other communities, and by doing that, build your own community.
Hmm.
Because that was I've seen with the business we're launching right now. We have a lot of really cool customers for our 30-day growth challenge, where we help people implement this cheat sheet. And almost all the people that bought from us in the first batch are people that have already seen me speak, or were in workshops of mine, who were past clients and then moved to other companies, because you already have like a trust relationship with them. And by
Right.
building up your own audience, by leveraging others people's audience, I think that's a really big lever to grow your business. And what we have done in this cheat sheet is, in this cheat sheet you see the quick and dirty approach on how you can implement it. We've also written out a structured approach for people who want to take more time and really want to get the fundamentals right and do it in the right way. And with our growth challenge, we go even deeper into all the concepts. And that after 30 days, you basically have the brain to do all the levers that are in the sheet, do it yourself, and also do that on a monthly basis, and make sure that you really leverage all the things you've learned in this sheet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, makes
that
sense.
was the Dream 100. So I don't know if you've got any questions around that.
Well, yeah, it really makes sense. And some key takeaways, which how I interpret it, if I would just put this into a practical way, I would go out and I would find, first of all, Facebook groups is probably the easiest way, is to find other people who have similar interests in what you're trying to offer, and then provide value. Don't go out there and market yourself in different ways. Go out and just really try to show value, answer questions, and figure out how you can really be a part of the community. Maybe there's a way that you can build your own community off of that, but the main intention is to show that you're either an expert in your own field, and that you have a personality and a voice, and you're real human and not a robot. You can also do this obviously in LinkedIn if you're focused on more the business or consulting aspect of it, just getting involved in other people's posts and responding to it. There's many other different ways, but the key point is to surround yourself with like-minded people, so they can interpret that you are there to provide value. And then in the end, you may be able to find out more research and customer insight about those individual users as well. And this can be broken out not only by what your business is, but the industry, the type of service that you're offering, whether it's how you're communicating it. It could be, in this case, me, like podcasting. I go out and hang out with other podcasters to see what people are interested in, or even geolocation, whether you're located in a certain area of the world. Really, the more fine-tuned you're able to niche down and find the ultimate user who you're looking for, more likely you're going to find the answers as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and jump right into the second one. Go back to my screen share. And we'll go to the value ladder.
Yeah. And the concept of a value ladder is something that I was doing for years intuitively, but I never had a framework to basically share step by step on how you should do that. So what I always told my clients, like, you should create a Trojan horse first offering that people go in for a very nice price, and you over deliver so much on quality that their association is like, whoa, this company provides so much value, and like for this 47 euro product, it's so good. If they offer me something next, I want to buy it. And in the sheet, I share a story on how I invested in an online course for 170 dollar. And after that, like, buying a course of $1,000 was a no-brainer. And after that, buying the course of $7,000 was even less difficult for me, because I knew there was value coming in, and every time that I would give that person my money, I would get more value in return. And what you do with a value ladder is you make sure that you're strategically positioning all your offers. So you make sure that the lead magnet that you try to get people in is really, really good, that your first product is cheap, has a really good price to quality ratio. And by doing these first two things, you have already put a seed in the brain of people. Like, if I work with that person or with that company, the value I get is so big relatively to the price that they charge to me, that when they offer a new product, that it's a no-brainer. And by doing that, you can really increase the value of a customer. And what it also helps you to do is it helps you to differentiate types of customers, because a lot of people will download the free stuff from you, but there's a huge difference in having a paying customer versus somebody who just stays on as a lead or a prospect. And what we want to do with the value ladder is to make sure that we, as fast as possible, identify who actually has the willingness and ability to invest in themselves and in your offering. And it's way smarter to focus on those people compared to people who would never buy from you.
Hmm. Interesting.
And
Let's go.
what I've shared in that sheet is that when you have a product, let's say it's like $50, it means that if you have a lot of customers, some of those customers would actually have bought something from you that was way more expensive, because they have the ability to pay that. But there were also a lot of people who didn't have the ability to buy that product from you, but who actually would have bought a product from you that is cheaper. So with this cheat sheet, we share a quick framework on how you can introduce products, but we also show more advanced stuff based on how people are already buying from you, if you need to introduce a lower price product or if you have to introduce a higher price product.
Makes sense. And now let's continue on to step 3, to stress test your revenue, maximize your revenue potential. How'd you do that?
So it's a very nice framework, and actually this is the framework that I think is generating the most money in the first couple of months that you work with these type of principles. Because what you do is, by asking yourself the question, what would break if tomorrow we would have 10 times the amount of customers in front of our door? You're really proactively thinking on how are we organizing the delivery of our revenue. Because you can say we want to grow with 200%, but is your organization actually capable of handling that? Do you have enough customer service reps to handle all the questions that you would get? Do you have enough salespeople to follow up on all the leads that would come in? And by proactively thinking about that, you can think, okay, how are our processes right now? Could they scale with us 10 times? And if not, should we already proactively outsource things? Can we already automate things? Or are there other companies around us that we have to partner with to make sure that we can handle that growth? And a very nice example that I've recently come across is a client that was generating 5 leads per day, and I was doing a stress test with them, and I said, guys, what needs to change that you could get 50 leads per day? And they were looking at each other and were like, you know what? Actually, we just have to do this, this, and this, and just more of that, and then we could get to 50 leads per day. And I said, you know what? I'm going to see you in 4 weeks again, and I want to know how many leads you got. And every day you're not moving, you're not going away until you have those 50 leads. And they're now in the process of like generating more and more leads. And it's a multiple of 5 leads per day that they are generating right now with the same team. But just by asking the question, could we 10x it?
Right. Yeah. Well, I think it's incredible. Just kind of thinking it out. It's totally a mindset, right? So thinking about where you want to go. So that's what we talked about. We talked about the end goal. Now you are creating a product that you're going to essentially test and figure it out. And then you're really going to figure out your capacity. What are you able to actually deliver on? I think a great example would be someone doing freelance. Us as freelancers, we always all of us want to build our own company and have a big business. What are the 10 things that would happen as a freelancer? I don't have the capacity. I can't take on more work. I can't do everything myself. There's definitely 10 things. And then kind of coming up with solutions for each one of those. Okay, hire people, get VAs, figure out how to outsource, and just lead the entire team. And then if you're able to try focus on one of those levers, you're able to maybe really move the needle. Is that kind of how you're thinking about it? Kind of rolling everything up into that big picture?
Yeah, definitely. So we have a lot of freelancers joining our 30-day challenge right now because they say, you know what, I now make this amount of profit, let's say 60K per year, and I will have to work 40 hours per week for it. And within 1 year, I want to make 6 figures per year in profit by only working 30 hours per week with a 6-week holiday. Well, like that's a really tangible, clear result that you want to achieve. And then what we help them with the exercises is, okay, like what are the steps that you can take to remove all the bottlenecks that are blocking you over there? Because they say, you know what, I don't want to hire a team. I want to stay solo, but I want to make that amount of profit. So we're now developing products and frameworks that helps them to get from that starting point to that end point where they make 6 figures with less hours and more freedom.
Before we close out, let's tell people more about you, how they can download this cheat sheet and learn more about your 30-day challenge.
Yeah, cool. So everybody can go to chrisout.com. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. On my website, there are enough links to the cheat sheet and to the 30-day growth challenge. So I would definitely check it out. And with everything that we do is like, we have a mindset for every euro or dollar that you give us, we need to make sure that you get at least 10 that back 10 times. So that's why we have taken hundreds and hundreds of hours to create those cheat sheets, to create those challenges, to make sure that the cheat sheet is free. The challenge is right now is like, it's only 47 euros. And I really believe that if you really take action on that, like the amount of money you could get back with the implementation of those things, like it's a return that's even more than 10x. And by doing it this way, we made it approachable and applicable for a lot of people. And that's what we want to do during these times, that actually entrepreneurs around the world can take these concepts and grow their business and actually gain more freedom with their business, more fun, and enjoy life.
Well, Chris, I could tell you firsthand that I've seen your progress over the last few years, because when I first met you at Conversion Excel many years ago, you were just getting started. You weren't doing any public speaking. You had just left corporate America. And every year you've really leveled up, put together a business, pivoted, and really accelerated your own individual growth. Through that, what advice would you give to other entrepreneurs who are looking to either take that leap or really accelerate their growth in the next 5 years?
It's a pretty challenging question because it all comes down to like, how hungry are you? Do you really want it? Because I share the cool stuff, but what people don't see are the hundreds and hundreds of hours of reading books, following courses, like trying stuff that didn't work, a lot of failures. Like, for example, with public speaking, the first year that I wanted to do it, I said, I'm going to speak at 50 events. And it doesn't matter if there are 5 people in the room or 500. I'm just going to do it 50 times. And because doing it a lot will build the mental muscle, and I can, based on that, I can accelerate my learning and see if I like it or not. So my biggest piece of advice would be, like, get clear about what you want. And we use the 25-year framework from Strategic Coach for that, which is really helpful. But then if you do it, like, jump before you're ready and go all in. And your body will tell you if it's the right direction or not. And if you just follow that intuition, that will get you 10 times faster to where you want to go than just like starting out from zero and just like doing random stuff.
Thanks for your time, Chris.
Thank you, Alex. It was really nice to catch up again.
Thank you for making Happy Progress part of your day. How are you going to take advantage every day? Please let Alex know by visiting the website happyprogress.com. Together we will prove that progress equals happiness.